Iowa Republican Steve King is a member of the Tea Party caucus, author of the House Health Care Repeal Bill. Sir, how are you doing today?
Good morning. I'm doing just fine. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it,
You're
Bill.
a slight majority right now with 51%. The number's creeping down, though. What does that tell you?
Well, I have been working with a 60+% majority for repealing Obamacare. It's drifted down to that level. I'll tell you why. It's just Congress hasn't taken any action in the last 6 months to address this issue in any meaningful way, so it's drifted out of the public's consciousness. If we're not in the news, if we're not pushing to repeal Obamacare, it doesn't drive the discussion in the public, and then the public begins to just move away from it and think, well, okay, the Congress must think it's impossible. That's part of what's going on here.
To be frank, and that's part of the reason why you came on our program today. But I think here's the critical point that Republicans are concerned with. This number is down from only 2 weeks ago when it was at 56%. And a lot of people thought that as long as the system works its way into the bloodstream of the American people, that it would be accepted over time. Do you fear that? Do you see that happening?
I've always feared it from the beginning, that we needed to make the argument first that repeal and replace, though that argument needed to be severed. Replacement is a separate question. Repeal is the most important thing. And if we don't have the expectations of America build up to the point where they anticipate its full repeal, then they begin to make accommodations to it. And I'm hearing people come into my office and they will say, I need this relief from Obamacare. Can you get me a waiver? Can we get a little tweak here? And I will ask them, where were you on final passage? And they'll get this guilty look on their face and, well, we came late, but we did support it. Now we need to fix it a little bit. They contributed to the problem. So now we have President Obama with $23.6 billion to spend to implement this. You know, and some talked about facing a potential shutdown in past months. The irony is that if that had happened and the lights had gone out in the federal offices all across this land, the lights would still be on in the implementation of Obamacare. That would keep chugging along. So I think this actually, it's three places, of course. It's the presidential race, it's what happens here in Congress, and it's what happens in the Supreme Court. I think that the presidential race really does decide this. The next president of the United States must be for repealing Obamacare. Congress will do it in a heartbeat if we elect the right president.
Just to be clear on this, back to the question, the longer it's out there, the more accepting it becomes. That's what you believe.
I am concerned about that. I wouldn't say that it's irreversible at this point. I think we need to turn up the effort and raise the anticipation of the American people, but it's a legitimate theory.
Now, in that survey also, the Rasmussen reports asked Americans whether or not they thought their bill would go up or whether it would go down. This is what he found. 57% believe the cost will be raised through the health care law for their own health care. Only 14% say it will lower the costs. You go back to the campaign that pushed health care through. It was exactly the opposite on the pitch. What are we to understand now?
Well, I think the American people have forgotten what was said on the pitch. If you remember also, President Obama said that we needed a little more competition in the health insurance industry. Just one more competitor, a federal health insurance company. And, of course, that didn't actually happen in the bill from a technical standpoint. Instead, we've got a huge federal health insurance regulator that regulates all of them. And that's driven the premiums up. But we had 1,300 health insurance companies at the beginning of this debate 2.5 years ago or so. Now, we have less today. We had over 100,000 possible policy variations that one could choose from. We have less today. So the competition hasn't been created, Bill, and quality has gone down, costs have gone up, and insurance companies have hedged their premiums because they know their costs are going up.
Steve King, thank you for your time. You're writing the appeal there. We're going to bring you back and see where this goes down the road when we get a better indication how Americans are feeling. Thank you for your time on the Hill.
Thank you, Bill.
Steve King.